Yeah, and I am actually looking forward to unplugging in 2021, right? Cliche as it is, sort of wrapping up the chapters. And something that's I'm coming across a lot right now is a lot of campus recruiters are evaluating how 2020 really went for them, right? They're doing their end of review and they've really identified, hey, like these are the problems in our organization. And they're going up to their directors, they're having those intake meetings, and they're like, boy, like we need tools, we need new things. We kind of have to go shopping when the new budget sort of rolls around. But campus recruiters, like those very same recruiters are coming back and telling me, like, Rishav, like, I have no idea like how to quote unquote shop for tools that are going to help me in my role. So granted, like, obviously have been around the block a few times as far as selling tools to customers who get value out of it. But like two recruiters who come up to you with that question, like how would you sort of advise them to get buy-in within their organization to go out and purchase those tools?
Yeah, and it's so true. It's such a cliche, but this year is a year like on any other. But I'm seeing that some sort of question too. So I don't think it's just hitting you, but a lot of these people that have been, in campus recruiting for, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years or whatever, they've never had to have those discussions because their organizations have always done all their recruiting on campus. And so they're not buying tools, they're buying airline tickets. And it's just kind of like the same thing over and over and over again. So they don't need to have that. So, what I've heard from some of the like senior VPs of HR, university relations directors, the people who have to approve those budgets is show me the numbers. If you want to spend my money, my budget, I need justification for that. And so what I've seen with a couple of organizations where people just, what's the expression that they used in World War II? Loose lips sink ships.
Okay. Yep.
It was a little bit like that, whereas like, off the record, this is what's happening on my end kind of thing. And like what seems to be happening is that the senior people who control the budgets are basically saying, okay, look, you and your team spent, $2 million last year on travel and staff time and whatever. We're not going to do that this year. It's going to be $200,000 because we're going to go from 30 schools to 10, or something along those lines. But we're willing to look at automation. We're, online assessments, could be job boards, whatever the technology is, they've got to cost justify it. So, what I'm telling those people to do is like, let's walk through the numbers. So, from College Recruiter, we're going to send candidates typically to your ATS. So I can figure out with the customer about how many of the candidates we're going to send, what the cost of that is going to be if it's pay-per-click or something like that. And if we'll say, okay, we're going to send 10,000 software engineering students to you in January and February, then what is your ATS show is going to be a normal conversion rate. How many clicks to your ATS, for every 1,000 clicks to your ATS, about how many people are going to apply? That would, from our perspective, that would be a key metric. And it's usually 5 to 10%. It's way lower than most recruiters think it is. And it's not College Recruiter traffic. It's across all employers, all jobs, all to ATS. 5 to 10% is pretty normal. And then if you hire a person, how many applications do you usually see? And, in our space, 10, 20, might be kind of a normal number. So you can kind of back it out. I think NACE, you've probably seen this, Rishav, but NACE says that something like $6,300 is the average cost of hiring somebody through on-campus recruiting. So if you're going to bring in tools and you can show your manager that you can do that for $2,000, $500, whatever, your manager's going to love you. Yeah. What are you seeing with your clients?
No, that's a good point. And this was like, for a lot of the tools actually, and this thankful to have kind of done a podcast where we went out and started interviewing like HR directors, and the CHRO of HSBC sort of educated us on how to do it and really influence the recruiters to get educated about how they should think about evaluating tools, et cetera. And she sort of broke it down pretty procedurally. One, really like issues saying with all the recruiters, nail the problem. Like what, like every step of the process, right? Like what is that problem? Like gather all the details. But then she said, okay, when you go up to that executive, don't word vomit all your problems. Like have the colleagues kind of just sit down, all come together, and then create sort of a problem statement. Like, hey, our process, we've been doing this, which has been impacting this, right?
Yeah.
And then right after that, then at a high level, she was suggesting, okay, what are some tools that fit under that umbrella? Not necessarily like naming them, but it's like, hey, like we need softwares or we need systems that help with employee engagement or lowering turnover or sourcing. Like just identify what frame that these directors need to think about when they think about tools. And then after that, this is so detailed. I loved it. It was like, after that, she said, okay, once you've given me the frame, then give me some assumptions and what the return on my investment looks like. Kind of like what you were alluding to in the beginning, right? It's like, so if we invest in a sourcing tool such as XYZ, based on the case studies that we've seen of customers in the same industry, we can see an impact of X% resulting in X amount of dollars saved. So now package all that up and imagine you as a director receiving this, as opposed to sending an email like, hey, I just talked to so-and-so, they have a great sourcing tool, can we buy it? Like that's what I'm hearing she was getting a lot of. And she's like, every money that I spend is an opportunity cost that I could have spent elsewhere. So you really have to be kind of defined and button up with that process of like, what's the problem? Give me the statement at a high level, give me what frame or what bucket does this tool fall under, and give me the assumptions that we can see, as well as what the problem has been costing us in the beginning. Like, hey, we have this is resulting in $20,000 just being wasted in resources. If we bring this in, this can save us $60,000 over year 1, year 2, year 3. Which I thought was kind of brilliant. It's kind of changed the way I think about kind of educating the customer throughout the sales process. But that's kind of been it. And hopefully, I actually found the segment to be pretty valuable. I may take this little snippet and blast it out again. So if people were to watch it, like where can they find you, just so we can sort of include this towards the end there?
Yeah. So where can they find me?
Yeah, we're gonna find you. Yep.
Yes. Collegerecruiter.com. Twitter, I'm at Steven Rothberg, Steven Rothberg, Rothberg, or just email me, Steven@collegerecruiter.com.
Cool. Yeah. Well,
and you?
I appreciate the meeting as always. And for me,
if you're gonna post this, I'm gonna share it. So how do they find you?
Yeah, Rishav at InPersonCo.com. Email or LinkedIn. I'm on there. I feel like more than I should be, but that's it's where we live and breathe. But no, I appreciate the meeting, and just on your end, kind of how you back into the numbers at least shows us in the right direction that it's really about educating the customers at the end of the day of how they should be thinking about this, because it can't be a wish list, right? Like, people in this climate don't have the money to spend on nice to haves. It really has to be defined as a need to have.
Yeah, and one more thing too to think about too is I mean, I loved what she kind of walked you through, but another element of that is risk. What if we don't do this? What if we don't update our marketing materials? What if we don't have a presence on this site or Glassdoor or whatever? What harm could come to us? What if we don't go to HBCUs this year? What's that going to do to our brand? I don't like using fear as a selling tactic, but sometimes internally with a company, when you tell your manager that if we don't do this, we have a lot of potential exposure, that can be successful with some managers.
That's fair. Yeah, the cost of inaction, right? And like, I feel like that's why oftentimes people are motivated to do anything. Like, hey, what if you don't work out next year, right? Like, will your health deteriorate? Go a little deeper. And what happens if your health deteriorates? And what happens after that? Yeah.
And that's the 19 from COVID-19.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Well, thanks again.
Cool,
we'll appreciate it. And I love that we're doing kind of more of this, just to kind of learn from you. That way we're a bit more educated about the space, but appreciate it.
Yeah, I loved it. See you next time.